Yeah, I'm not waiting anymore. Hi, people. It's Saturday. I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. I hope everybody's having a mellow Saturday. We're gonna bring in some people that I love their content first and foremost, and I'm really excited. Obviously, everybody knows Santa's here. We have another guest that's joining us that I'm really excited to talk to. Unfortunately, I've only had a few minutes in the backstage to sit and chat, and you guys know me. I'm a bit of a chatterbox, so my own self can get in the way, but I am very excited. So we're not going to wait anymore. You guys know Santa. Everybody knows Santa. And we're going to bring in our special guest that was unannounced and last minute, and I'm super pumped. We're bringing in Star Wars Meg to come
Hello.
and join us on this weekend start to positivity. Hi.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to
Yeah.
finally speak to you.
Oh, I am super excited. I am a very large fan of your work. You both crank out some fun, happy, sometimes content. Uh, and it's just good to talk to other people that create such amazing stuff. So I have a few questions, but I would say, um, Meg, I just want to start talking to you. Santa and I had a couple hours to really get to know each other and really had a good time talking. But really, your content goes just deep, right? Like you just, I some of the stuff, even your Twitter, some of the stuff you just pull out really makes me think. And so I really want to start with what got you here? Like what started this amazing channel that gives me not only hope but lots of information, that stuff that I don't even think of sometimes.
Well, thank you for that incredible introduction. I would say I started my channel just because I had something to say. If anything else, just share my love and passion for Star Wars. For people who've been like around on my channel for a long time, they'll know that my channel took a lot of turns in terms of what content I was doing. So I started the channel doing very jokey things. I would kind of answer questions that no one really had, like how did Darth Vader poop? And how did Darth Maul have sex after he lost his penis? Those kind of questions. And then the Mandalorian season 2 hype was really building up. So I made one or two videos on that. The channel just blew up from there. And I realized that there was this demand for accurate Star Wars news. A lot of Star Wars news on YouTube had been polluted by fake rumors and fake outlets and all of that. So that's kind of where I found my niche. And I mixed it with doing Star Wars Explained videos and theory videos and speculation. And I guess it kind of matured from there.
Well, I mean, matured it has. I mean, like I said, even your Twitter, you posted something. I was looking for it earlier. I'll dive into it. You posted just an image of Kanan, Ezra, and they were the image was mirror to one another in their last moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I never even thought of that brief connection, right? I know they both did the same thing, the sacrifice, the amazing um journey that we got to see, and it all culminated in the exact same image of them. And that kind of blew me away because I had never really thought of it like that. I had never really put those two puzzle pieces together, in that Kanan did such a great job at training his young apprentice that he not only did the same thing that Kanan did in his last moments, but it was just poetic to me the way that that was illustrated, and I never thought of that. So what, where do you, I mean, do you just look at these things and connect the dots, or do you dive down rabbit holes that we don't even see?
I dive down a lot of rabbit holes. I tend to kind of I try and look for the poetry in Star Wars because that's what it's always been about since the George Lucas days. And, you know, Star Wars Rebels in particular does justice to everything magical and huge and powerful about Star Wars emotionally, thematically, in every
Yeah.
possible way. It's my favorite of the animated shows. Um, so I guess I do try and look for poetry and for other things than the obvious within Star Wars. And I feel like a lot of the creators, like Dave Filoni, try to do those things on purpose.
Well, yeah, I mean, getting a and she makes a wise point. Deborah had the was at the top of that image, in a very in the very same pose, um, it just makes it makes me think about apprentices and masters. And Santa, jump in here anytime. I, I'm I'm continuously amazed at the writing of the Clone Wars and Rebels, at the deep relationship that goes into the apprentice mirroring the master, and then later in life becoming their own style, their own sabers. Like even the sabers of the young Padawans mimic their masters. Yes.
Well, I don't know that I would make that connection. Maybe Meg sees it when I think like Ahsoka and Anakin. Ahsoka using the two shorter, two different length blades, and she's always held that reverse grip. Um, her style is very different from Anakin's. Much more athletic, that gymnastic, that kind of things.
Pardon me, Santa. I got to interrupt you for just 2 seconds.
In the dungeon! Turn around in the dungeon! Thought you ought to know.
Yes,
He just
yes.
makes
You
he
need
just
to.
makes me, he just makes me do it.
He does. It's not his fault. I mean, well, it is his fault. I mean, that's what he. But when you are a troll, that's what you do. You troll. So
Uh, and, and
trolls
and
got
you
to troll,
inspired that,
right?
and you inspired that little clip. I had to clip it just that way.
You know,
Um,
the
I
thing with
appreciate.
X-Wing is that he often likes to talk about tea because I often have a cup of tea next to me. I think I might ask him what his favorite brand is, his favorite brand of tea.
well, he's
Oh,
here,
you
so let
already
us
know
know.
the answer to that,
Let
Meg.
us know what kind of tea you like there. I'm gonna guess Long Island personally, but
I think he'll
uh,
tell us in the chat.
He will
I'm
tell
sure
us
you
in
will.
the chat. Meg
Um,
set him up. That's a softball.
that's the
I know
softball.
where this is going.
Um, but for me, it's the Obi-Wan Qui-Gon that really gets me in the prequels. Obi-Wan's initial saber had a very Qui-Gon look to it, had a very similar design, if you will, to uh, 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 to those. That was very similar. At least the one that got kicked down the pit when with Maul's body later. Um, and then you have, I don't know, I mean, Anakin's kind of, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of Yoda in Anakin's saber. There's a lot of little pieces that are very similar. I feel like Anakin is kind of an odd duck because he had such a different perspective on the whole lightsaber as a whole. I mean, just the honing and the harmonics of his crystals were very unique to him. So, but I just feel like there's a lot of these similarities in, and Ezra and Kanan really don't count because those sabers were just like, Ezra's first saber was probably my favorite crazy design. Like the whole pistol aspect to it, just so awesome. Thoughts?
No, I see the connection between Anakin and even Luke, right? When you start to follow that down, Luke's saber is very similar to Anakin's. So within the Skywalker kind of legacy, I can definitely see that. But but you bring a good point with Ezra's being very unique. Ahsoka, her style and her sabers were very different. So I think that's probably purposeful to see the Skywalker kind of connection all the way through.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, see, here you go. See, he thinks that Luke's saber is a little closer to Obi-Wan's. And like I was saying, I feel like the first Kenobi saber we see in episode 1 is a very similar look to the Qui-Gon saber, and then he builds a new saber that is, well, basically the same saber he uses the entirety of his life. Yes? Correct me if I'm wrong?
Um, doesn't he lose it to
Well,
is it Anakin or Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones who loses their lightsaber?
does he get his back after he was captured by Dooku, right? He doesn't. I'm not sure if he gets his saber back from Geonosis because they throw him They throw him and Anakin a lightsaber for that battle. But I'm curious. I've never even thought about if that was Kenobi's original saber. And
So
he got
Obi-Wan lost his first one in his duel with Darth Maul.
right, right. And after that, he builds the one, and that's what I'm saying. I'm curious now, and now see this gives me a rabbit hole to dive down. If that was Kenobi's the saber he built after he lost his to Maul, did he get his back after he lost it at Geonosis when they captured him? I'm curious if he ever got that saber back, and if that's the same one he used for the entirety of his life.
No, because I know he got a new lightsaber or constructed a new one when he became a master.
Okay, there. See, thank you. That again, you have so many answers. I could literally sit here and pick that brain of yours for days on end and just write notes about things. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You dive down so many rabbit holes that most people don't even think are there. And that to me is just what makes you different from 99% of the content creators out there, right? Like most of them are either, my favorite is the clickbaiters. Those are my favorite guys. And then the click haters are my second favorites. And then I get to the people that regurgitate other people's stuff. That's my top three of finding. But you, along with a couple others that I won't name, really dive into it. And is that just like, how long has this passion been burning in you? Is this something you discovered as a child?
Yeah, pretty much. And that was like before the internet, or at least before I was able to use the internet. So I guess like watching the prequels growing up, you kind of just foster an interest in the wider lore of Star Wars before it was explained with books and all of that. There was, of course, novelizations and prequels novels coming out at the same time. Those are now Legends material. But I don't think I was as into those growing up as I was like the reference guidebooks and the games.
Now, where did you come into Star Wars? What is your first introduction and into the franchise?
Return of the Jedi, and I was 6.
Okay. And was that did that just immediately inspire you to dig deeper, or did you then go back and watch the original flick and Empire Strikes Back, and then just did it blow your mind, or where? Because you came in at kind of the climax there. You came in and found out who's who and what's what. So was it even more exciting to go back and get that backstory?
Absolutely. See, I remember catching it on TV when I can't remember which channel it was. They were doing like this Star Wars weekend where they were just showing all of the original trilogy. And I was at my grandparents' house. Return of the Jedi was on, and we flicked it on at Jabba's palace. Instantly loved the aliens and how funny everything was. But it wasn't until I went back and rewatched the originals and prequels that I guess I fell in love with the story.
Now, and I know, like I said, I'm a shill. Like, there's no doubt in my space, I'm a shill, and Santa outshills me. I call him, I'm a shill. He's a shill of shills. Where is your perspective on the sequels? I at least for people that have come to my channel, really, if you're living under a rock and haven't seen Megs and you're here on mine, then you really need to get over there. But for those of us that that are here, what's your take?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I really
This is X-Wing's fault. Don't let me interrupt you real quick. But this is X-Wing's fault because he mentioned the prequels and Santa. So we're gonna jump right to stuff that he doesn't like, so he can troll out. So please continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I remember going to see The Force Awakens. It was okay. Wasn't great. Absolutely loved The Last Jedi, and then Rise of Skywalker for me was just a bit of a letdown, to put it nicely.
And nicely is a good way to put things today and here. So what drove you so hard to loving The Last Jedi? Because that's a flick that's probably the most controversial of the three. And I'm a shill. I love it all. I can find good in all of it. I don't hate on any of it. But what really grasped you about that particular movie?
So I've told this story to Santa and his audience as well, but I came out of The Last Jedi thinking this is going to be the Star Wars film that everyone loves, and that aged terribly. I just thought it had all of the aspects that we needed to kind of move Star Wars in a different direction, try some new things, take risks. Everyone can have the Force. It was fresh. And to me, The Force Awakens was mediocre because it kind of rehashed ideas from the original trilogy, didn't acknowledge anything from the prequels, and then you've got The Last Jedi that tries new things, but also stays true to George's vision of the Force. He mentions Darth Sidious and the rise of the Empire, a little nod to the end of Revenge of the Sith. I really love that film, and I love the idea of Rey being nobody.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean it's unfortunate that there I mean, not enough people like that film. I feel like it's unfortunate. I found some of the best stuff in that movie. Um it, it's a tough sell to a lot of other people. A lot of people were disappointed with that flick, unfortunately. And it's all personal perspective, which makes it so difficult. There's no right answer. That's what people fail to realize is there's no right answer, right? There's no definitive this is correct, right? Now if you're going by George Lucas's impression of his IP that he created, then I can understand you having a perspective much like him about the sequels and how they weren't on brand, let's say, to be nice, like continue this positivity. But at this point, do you feel like George is more involved in, and Santa, please voice in, do you guys feel like George is more involved now in, I don't want to say repairing, but damage control, let's say, on the sequels and connecting lines and building stories to further the story to that point? Because I feel like they're, no matter how much people cry, there's no retcon coming. They're not going to oust almost $5 billion investment.
No, nothing's being retconned, and I don't think George has any creative anything at this point. I know he visits the set of The Mandalorian, and Dave will ask him a question every now and then, but
You,
I'll
you
let
don't
Sandra
feel
answer.
you don't feel like Dave's got George on speed dial. You don't think they have like meet a couple times a month at the ranch and sip cocoa by the fire and talk Star Wars? Because that's my fantasy that lives in my head.
I think there's plenty of evidence, and Dave talks about it quite a bit. He and George have an ongoing relationship. I think Dave calls George, and George calls Dave, and they chat just from time to time. There seems to be that kind of relationship there. And as far as the sequels are concerned, Dave was tangentially kind of connected to those as well. We were just talking about The Last Jedi, and we know Ryan Johnson brought Dave in to help teach him. It's one of the things Kathy Kennedy wanted to Dave to kind of be brought into filmmaking, and put him and Ryan Johnson together so he could start learning some of the blocking and all the things that go with actually, movie making. But and to transition from animation, right? So through that process, Dave's been involved with the sequels all along, and I expect that as folks talk, ideas flow, and those kind of discussions are had. Maybe not on an official level or anything like that, but at least the discussion is going on between the folks collaborating there. And certainly Ryan Johnson was the director writer for Last Jedi for sure, but that Dave and George Lucas have an ongoing relationship, I believe, and I do not think that George is. I agree with Meg. I don't think George is in any way involved in kind of trying to repair or retcon or uh, fill in a story for the sequels or the Mandoverse, even for that matter.
Right.
That's that's largely John Favreau, and Dave is there kind of setting the rails for John. Right, we saw that in the second season of the Gallery. Right, when John's wanting oh shoot, the one dude that Ben hangs up by the heels. Right, he wants him to say McClunky, and Dave laughed and said no. It was just like, no. So I think Dave's given John some rails. John is primarily writing the stuff. Dave's certainly writing, producing the Ahsoka series, and he's been involved in directing some of the other, episodes from here to there. But I don't think George Lucas is even the rumor about Andor. There was a big thing that George Lucas was somehow involved with in a major way with Andor. I don't believe that is true either.
Copy that. Okay, well, so let's get into what is hot, because there are some real hot items right now in the space. And what are your guys'? First of all, have you guys played any Lego Star Wars?
I've played quite a lot of it.
And have you've played the Santa? Have you gotten into any of it? I don't know if you're a gamer at all.
I can't. I have an addiction issue with them, and it'll take over my job, my life. When I was in the military, I would come home from work, and then I would stay up literally all night long playing video games, and then go right back to work the next day. In the military, it wasn't too bad to do that, but and I was in my 20s, so sleep is less of a thing. But it will absolutely. I can't just not finish a level. Like if I were to play through the playthrough, and then I've got 10% of the loot that you can go get, I will keep playing that level until I have absolutely 100%. And if I'm missing one coin, I'll play that for days until I get that one coin, and then go to the next. So it's just something I can't do. And I'm loving seeing Meg be the ice cream police and the broom police and that kind of stuff. She's brilliant, and so I'm having a lot of fun watching folks. But I can't play them.
It is addictive. Meg, have you finished it yet?
No, I'm up to Return of the Jedi. I nearly said Revenge of the Jedi.
Yeah, I'm going backwards. I'm doing the sequel trilogy first because everybody's doing the other stuff first. So I'm getting in on the sequel trilogy and getting that down first, and then I'm going to go back and do the prequels and the lead into, because everybody else is doing the fun stuff. So I'm watching and getting some tips and figuring out how that goes. But I'm doing the sequel stuff first because for me it's the stuff that nobody's playing and posting. So
I've actually heard that people who've gotten up to The Last Jedi, it's incredible. I've seen people who hate the sequel say it's actually the best level of the game. They spend the most time developing it.
It's on, like, so we were having a conversation in the Discord about this. The guys were talking about time and playthrough, because I think Hawks wants to do the whole Megillah at one time. He wants to try to stream the whole Megillah through one stream, and I told him, you're out of your mind. You may be able to do a trilogy in one sitting, but there's no way you're making it through 30 hours of this game. There's no way, right? So we were talking about that, and then X-Wing came in, of course, and he was like, well, it figures they'd give the sequel trilogy the most airtime rather than the prequels or the original. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that, just playing the sequel stuff so far, I've been in 6 hours just to get the story to complete, so I can go free world and get all the goodies. Like Santa's saying, I'm one of those people too. I got to get all the goodies, but I'm trying to get, for the channel and for the playthrough, I'm trying to just get the story, and it's a fun playthrough. Just like I said, I'm a show. I love it all, but just the playthrough is fun, and the interaction is fun. Luke having a milking station where he just goes up to a tap and pulls the tap, and there's green milk, is to me hilarious. Right? It's just a different take on it. There's so much comedy that goes into these games. I understand why they pushed this game so many times, because it's deep.
Very deep.
It's insane. I've This is the first Star Wars game. This is the first Lego game I've ever played. Let me rephrase. This is the first Lego game I've ever played. I've never played another Lego game ever. This thing, like this, other companies need to take notes of you want to build an open world game, go play Star Wars Lego and build, because they got it. They understand. In fact, I want whoever has produced these to just, will you make a MMO division, or like make another division of Lego, because y'all get gameplay.
Yeah, I saw somebody else do a review of very much along that line, where they were saying
gosh.
the open world aspect of this game is tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous for the things that people have complained about, like not having multiplayer over, streaming kind of thing. But the open world aspect of it and just the playability of it seems to be great. And I love Meg talk more, so she'll quit trolling me in the chat. She's killing me. She's killing me.
I mean, I just saw someone in the chat called Meg's Cantina. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she has a lot of good points.
Well, and so Meg, please, you've only gotten to Return of the Jedi, and I've seen a lot of playthrough in this. Do you feel like they understand Star Wars over at Lego?
I think TT Games, the developers, really get it, and they had a lot of fun with the meme culture surrounding the prequels. And I think they really understand it. I think it shows in some ways, to be critical. It does show in some ways aspects where they rushed a lot of the cutscenes, and a lot of battles are missing. Like the Battle over Coruscant is missing. When you arrest Palpatine as Mace Windu, you can't play that level. It's just a cutscene. And 3 of the Jedi are missing. It's just Kit Fisto and Mace. But again, this is nitpicking. The game itself's really great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying. I'm only a third of, not even a third of the way through, and I can't wait to get back. But like Santa, I can't. It's hard for me to stop. Like if I have other things going on, it's hard for me to just like pull the ripcord and get out. Because I'll sit there until somebody drags me out of this chair. So, yeah, I've been taking it in strides. I thought I'd get more done this week, but I've been doing other things. So yeah, I'm really excited that you guys, that you like it, Meg. Susanna's obviously got a
I love
addiction,
it.
so we can't get into that. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up. Obviously, I don't want to get into any spoilers about Kenobi, but I would like to know your excitement level, right? Based on everything that's come out this year, in the last 12 months, let's say, that's Star Wars based. Let's not go back to Mando and all that stuff, but where's your excitement level on, let's say, a 1 to 10 scale, just to make it easy, for Kenobi?
I'm going to be completely honest, and I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but before I heard about the leaks, it was like a 10, and now it's about a 4.
Ooh. Yeah, you're a little lower than me. I was probably around an 8 for Kenobi. I've always been concerned as a guy that grew up with the original trilogy, and some of the concerns about the going back to Kenobi and Anakin or Vader in between the prequels and the original trilogy kind of is a dicey place to exist. And so I was reserving a little bit because I was worried about some of the issues that might come up. Now that I know almost the entire story of the Kenobi, I'm probably around a 6 out of 10 on it. And I think it's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be absolutely great. I love the story arc for Kenobi. I think it's going to be wonderful. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. There's going to be a lot of really good Easter eggs, tie-ins to other content, and some wonderful character development played out through it. So I'm looking forward to that. But there are things, just knowing this fandom, knowing where people get obsessed on little things and make giant, hills out of nothing. I'm worried. for the fandom.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like I was hoping that this was going to.
In the dungeon! Turn around in the dungeon! Thought you ought to know.
I'm going to superimpose X-Wing's face on that Professor Quirrell at the end.
Yes.
My buddy Hawks, hopefully you can help me out with that. We're going to superimpose X-Wing's face on that last little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I'm excited. I've been excited for this for 2 years. Look, let's for me, this is as excited as I've been for something to come out. I was very open-minded when The Mandalorian came out. I did not see the problems with the show that some people saw. Same thing, season 2. Bad Batch, same thing. I enjoy the story, the continuation of Order 66. We get to see more and more of Order 66 anytime you put that in a show or series. I'm pumped because I didn't get enough of it. And going into Kenobi, this is, oh man, this is a story that I know only what images can tell me. Let me put it that way. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, I've got like 5,000 or 6,000 words of this show in my brain. But I don't know leaks. I don't know story arcs. I don't know any of the stuff that Jason has been talking on your show about, Santa. I get in there as long as I can, and then I have to pull the ripcord because y'all go into the stuff that I can't hear yet. I need to see it. But for me, this is something I've been waiting years for. I mean, this was supposed to be around during the Solo anthology, the Solo movie, right? Because it was supposed to be Solo, Boba Fett, Kenobi movies, right? It was supposed to be those three,
Pastry making.
right? But I'm letting the chat just roll. You guys are having a great time. But yeah,
Could I just chime in based on a couple of things you and Santa said? I think for me, it's just the fact that I've heard what's going to happen from start to finish, and Jason's been incredible. He's been on top of all of the leaks and all of it. And I think you're in a very fortunate position not to know much about the plot, because having heard it, I'm kind of having what they call fandom PTSD from the Book of Boba Fett, because my biggest complaint with that show is it felt like a Disney Plus series that was filmed in the volume. And I don't mean that in the nicest way. It felt boxy, it felt small, the universe was tiny. And from the leaks that we've heard from Kenobi, it's just going to be the same. It's not going to feel like there's this big universe out there.
Well, and see, for Boba, I had a couple of really fun hopes for Boba, right? I was kind of hoping they were going to go into, with the backstories of Django leaving and Camino being the first home that I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna give you a different one because you don't deserve that one.
And it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
So for me, I went into Boba really open-minded. Yes, I feel like they could have gone a little more, a little deeper into, Boba becoming this crime boss. And for me, crime bosses, living in Vegas and researching the mafia as a younger man. I really thought that they could have done something awesome, like Boba goes to Camino and starts importing water, right? What water is gold on Tatooine. So why not bring in some fresh water, right? It just another aspect of control, right? It's just, that's how mobsters roll. And I thought they could have gone off world a little more. They could have done a little more, a little more. I mean, they did a lot of fan service, but a little more fan service, and they had a little more room to go off world. And yeah, maybe it felt a little boxy with them only going off world with Din Djarin. So, which I found those portions to be amazing. I mean, the man was walking around with a severed head in a bag. Anybody that says Disney isn't ready for rated R, checkmate.
Right.
But for me, this series is supposed to feel like it's in a box.
Well,
right? This series,
I want to at least address a couple of things with that, because contrary to Meg a little bit, he is going to go off world, and I know there's a bet on the line
I
here.
hope not. Oh, I hope not.
He,
That's 100 to 1 odds there, Santa.
you've already lost. Just
Oh
pay it
no, not
forward.
until I see it. I won't do it.
Yeah, sorry, but
No,
anyway,
that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
yeah, he's going to go off world. And so, as far as like a larger universe, we are going to explore different planets. We're going to explore different environments. We're going to be in many ways in a really dark story arc. Like you said, with the Book of Boba Fett, when Din went in and beheaded the dude and carried his head out in a bag, that's very much going to be the same sort of vibe, right? We already saw in the trailer the dude's hands get chopped off. Like,
I haven't seen it. Stop.
you haven't seen the trailer? Okay, I'll stop. I'll
Stop.
stop. But anyway, I think there's going to be tons of that kind of thing in it. But my concern is more about the fandom and how the fandom is going to react to it. The story itself, I feel really good about. Especially as I mentioned before, I think we're going to see some great character development, and that's going to be really cool. And some of the scenes in it are going to be, they're going to have huge payoffs. Them things that people have been waiting for forever. You're going to get a lot of that, and it's going to be terrific. But I'm also worried just because I watch like a Den of Nerds and Theory and others, and and some of the things that they say they want and that they're hoping for just isn't going to happen, and that's what worries me.
I feel like they should have done the opposite, in my opinion. At the end of the day, we'll see what they put out on the screen, and you guys know more than I, because I refuse to hear it or see it until that weekend. At least I'm trying to avoid it like a guy giving free money. But at the end of the day, I feel like if that's the case, they should have done these series in reverse. They should have given Boba more off-world, because for me, Obi-Wan, that show should be in a box. That show should be only on a desert planet, right? Like I feel like, and this is some of the bet stuff. If Meg, if you don't know, and for those of you that don't, I have a few bets. I have a bet with Fatal J about Kenobi, and whether I believe that our bet is about, if I remember correctly, I'll go back to the stream, about the Vader Obi-Wan fight, and does it happen in real time? So that's number one. And then the second one is with X-Wing, who one of the mods put him in the naughty corner, is about whether he goes off world. And that bet, there's more conditions to that bet. And the main condition to that bet is that Kenobi cannot go off world for no reason. It has to be related to Luke. If it's not related to Luke, I lose.
You lost.
You've lost.
That's what y'all say. I will believe it when I see it.
That's what you whatever the bet is. Put it aside.
It's already aside. It's already on the wall. I've already put his name on it. I've stapled it to the wall. I'm not worried about that money. It's not about the money here. And I love that he's in the naughty corner right now because he can't even chat and defend himself. So it's even better that one of the mods put him in timeout. But really, like, that's the bet for me. If it's not related to Luke, I feel like it's a disservice. And this is my worry. I am equally concerned. My hype level is at an all-time 10. Right? Like, there's no other show that I've been more excited about than this for several years, right? For several years, this has been in the works. They went back to the drawing board, completely page one rewrite, and came back and did something that is hopefully going to be amazing. I'm concerned because for me, a lot of these things kind of mess it up for me. And that's my biggest concern, is that I expect more from Dave when it comes to these kind of anchor point, with these anchor point decisions with Kenobi, right? If he goes off world for anything but to protect the boy or a threat to the boy, then for me that's a big red flag for me. And I kind of don't I know everybody's ahead of me on the curve, but at the same time I hope that there's some room for me to not feel annoyed by this.
And this is where I kind of see Santa's point of I'm really worried about the way the fandom is going to react to this show, because we, from the leaks, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, there is a reason he leaves Tatooine that's
Right.
not related to Luke, but it works really well because inadvertently it helps to protect Luke. And I fear that, just like with a lot of other concerns fans have, that's going to be misconstrued at very surface level as Kenobi's not doing something related to canon when in fact he is. I just really
Yeah.
hope people can see past, the first kind of what it looks like on paper.
Yeah,
Well, and
and
that
I agree. I think again, you mentioned this before, Obsession. Like when you see it, then we can see it, because a lot of times when you see it on paper, it may or may not play in your head as well as when you see it. And I have every confidence in Deborah Chow to give us a fantastic show. So I'm really excited for it. But for me, I think I'm more excited for like Mandalorian season 3, because the we already know Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 are the best things on Disney Plus. They're the most watched things on Disney Plus. Mandalorian season 3 opens up some possibilities that where we could go with the story, and then leading into Ahsoka. So those for me are really exciting. And I would say for this year, 2022, the thing that I am most excited for, and this is largely due to Meg, is Andor. I think Andor is going to be, and Meg said this over and over again, it's the show everybody's sleeping on.
Oh, well, and let's jump to that. So that honestly was the next thing on my list. Andor is the sleeping giant, right? I mean, let's just be real.
If you're trying to avoid spoilers, you shouldn't talk to me about Andor because it's the show I know the most about.
Andor, you can spoil Andor until the cows come home. I don't give
I'm
a
gonna say
shit.
this. I think Andor is going to be way better than Kenobi.
I kind of feel that Andor is going to be possibly the best show that they do this year. I mean, I've been pumped for Kenobi. I've been, on the hype train for a lot of these, but I feel like Andor is a sleeping giant. Andor is the one nobody's paying attention to, that's going to give us some of the best lore, because his life spans pre-Empire. He was a separatist, technically. His family were separatists. So technically he's been on the right side of this war the entire time. And he mentions being, doing missions basically since he was 6 years old. So he's lived and breathed this whole thing his whole life. We could get a lot of amazing stuff that we haven't seen from a different point of view.
Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
two people who I know worked on the show have shown me and told me a lot of incredible things about this series. And for one thing, if you enjoy the animated shows, this is going to be very rewarding, especially if you're a Rebels fan. I think Tony Gilroy had a very unique blueprint, and some of those elements were already set up in Rogue One. But I think this show is going to do like a deep dive into like the darker side of the rebellion. So we're going to see. I mean, it's no secret that Forrest Whitaker is back as Saw Gerrera, but we're going to see some of those darker missions, I think, and
Well,
it's going to work so well for the small screen because spy thrillers naturally work well on Netflix or Disney Plus.
Well, and
Yeah, I
what you
wouldn't.
said there, what you said there is really the big part of it. You said the darker side of the rebellion, and my mind instantly goes to Saul Guerrero,
Mhm.
without question, without hesitation. You say darker side of the rebellion, immediately I'm like, where's Saul Guerrero? His influence is in there somewhere, because that's what he was about.
Well, I just started rewatching Rogue One again. Rogue One is maybe one of the least rewatchable movies for me in the entire saga. But Meg did a video on it this week that has me desperate to watch it again. So I started watching it. Work got in the way, so I'm gonna finish it today. But that movie opens up with a pretty dark scene, right at the very beginning. Like he shoots the dude to escape. Right, that's rough, and they're like on the same side, right? And then I want to mention something real quick before we get too far into Andor. Kenobi for me is really interesting about the future of Star Wars films because we know that started off as a movie. If they're able to translate that well into a series and that series is well received, then the future of films, especially the one-off films like Solo and Rogue One, is probably gone. Right? Those are probably gone. Those will all be Disney Plus. They'll all be series going forward.
Well,
So
and I mean, honestly, I mean, Rogue One was a masterpiece in my opinion. I mean, I'm just a lonely little guy in the universe, but to me, Rogue One was a masterpiece, and the reason it's so hard to watch again is because it's so goddamn sad. It's
yeah,
so
well,
sad to watch a second or third time,
yeah,
knowing all those everybody dies. Like this is
everybody
one of the
does.
few
Yeah.
ones of Star Wars where you're like, everybody dies?
Yeah,
Really?
some of the parts that I enjoy, K2SO is by far the one of the bright spots of the movie, and I really like Sharut, and I look forward to that. But Meg mentioned something before that, and I just wanted to get that out of the way about Kenobi as well. But
Oh, we can jump. Trust me, there's no agenda
as
here.
far as Andor goes, seeing that come forward is a different genre for Star Wars. I'm super excited for Andor because it is a different genre, right? They're going into the spy thriller that and that's it's been told is that's the style of the show, right? It is a spy thriller show. Different than we've had anything else in Star Wars with the Star Wars characters. I am really excited for it. Really want to see it, and I know that we're talking about a third season already. That's it bodes well. It does. Looking forward to it.
So, what do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about the Bad Batch? How do you guys
Oh, I
feel
love it.
about
Love
the?
it.
Okay, so you're two of the people that enjoy it. Do you enjoy the Omega storyline? Do you enjoy the
She's the best
direction
part.
that they're
I think
going?
she's literally become one of my favorite characters.
Her humor is so well timed. I mean, they wrote her humor, in my opinion, to be subtle but fun and effective. Right? It's not. She's not this big like yeah ha ha. I don't want to say Jar Jar Binks because everybody gets sensitive, but she's very subtle in her jokes. Her humor is very well timed in the series, and I've enjoyed more and more her character development.
Yeah, I want to ask a question, and for the discussion, maybe for the chat as well. We have a story of now several characters that came from the prequel or the pre-original trilogy era who were not in the original trilogy who now are showing up in the post original trilogy era, right? And there's some discussion. My friend Will Morgan thinks that Omega is going to be put in carbonite, carbonite frozen, and then she's going to be unfrozen as a younger character, not aged the same as Boba because she's been in carbonite when we see her in live action. I tend to think that we will see her in live action aged normally. I don't think she's I don't think she's going to be put in carbonite for 10 years.
Right.
So I think that Omega is going to be a central character going forward in a lot of Filoni's work, and that he's setting the character up in the Bad Batch to be used in a lot of the what are they calling it now? The Mando Plus era. Yeah.
I don't agree with the theory of carbonites, but I definitely agree with Santa on her being a big, character in live action later on. I think she is the new Ahsoka for all intents and purposes. But something interesting, and I'm going to make a video on this tomorrow, is they've kind of confirmed Boba Fett is going to be in season 2. Star Wars Insider did an interview with what's his name, one of the producers, and he was talking about how Boba Fett had a live action show, and we're probably going to come across him in the Bad Batch. So very heavily teased, and I think her story was from the start always going to line up with that of Boba Fett.
So
eventually.
you're on the train that they will meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm curious, when do you think they'll meet? Do you think they'll meet before, let's say, before the original trilogy era or after the original trilogy era? The
Both.
first time they meet. First time.
I think we'll see them in the Bad Batch briefly. I don't think they'll necessarily have enough time to be like, I'm your brother, I'm your sister, or whatever. I kind of feel like Boba might save them, or they might be an adversary of some kind. Eventually, I think Omega's going to come to realize through tech that that was her brother. And I'm convinced that at some stage, if they do another season of Boba, that they're going to meet in live action further down the timeline. As to what Omega becomes, I hope it's something like a bounty hunter or a Mandalorian, so we can explain why she wasn't a central figure in the original trilogy.
Yes. Same with Fennec Shand, right? So I have this theory that Fennec and Omega are going to go off together in some way, like either is a mentor-mentee kind of thing, or some mission, something, and that's where they've been. And because we've already seen where Fennec told Omega twice that she wasn't there to cause her any harm. She was there to protect her, to save her. So I think that we could see during the original trilogy, that's where Fennec is. She's wherever Omega is. And that very well could be a Mandalorian or a bounty hunter kind of thing. I don't know about bounty hunter. They've called her a couple of times an assassin, right? So
I'm going to be
maybe
honest
that's
with
how
you.
they...
I can't see that. I can't see Fennec having anything to do with Omega in terms of a partnership. I see what you're saying. I see why you might think they set that up, but I think it would have been obvious by now.
Well,
I think... I'm just kind of finish real quick, because I think that with Fennec, calling her an assassin, it explains why she wasn't one of the bounty hunters that Vader called, right? So it's a different class of bounty hunter, if you will. So that could explain part of that.
Well, and it seems like it's now. Do we see Omega? She, when we last saw her, she was captured. Yes.
No.
Where did we last see her?
On the deck of that landing pad.
Yeah. She's all alone. Yeah. So,
well, she says to Crosshair, you're my brother, that kind of thing.
So, do you feel like there's more to Camino than is left that they find? Do we feel like, she seems like she is very almost in the inner circle of the Camino? I mean, spending so much time with the scientists away from the rest of the clones, it seems like she was very much under lock and key and was only really allowed to leave her area whenever she was with a scientist, right? So do you think that she knows more about Camino than others, and that there are other labs and other locations that she might hold?
I'd say you're absolutely on the right track in terms of cloning, but not to do with Camino. They've really been hinting at Nala Se's importance in season 2, now that she's working for the Empire. And the quotes that I'm going to show in my video tomorrow from Star Wars Insider magazine talks about how things are going to get really weird. We're going to see some really weird things on Mount Tantis. And I suspect the Empire is going to hunt down Omega because she knows too much, or she knows enough of the secrets. I know that Nala Se wants her as far away as possible for her own safety, but I suspect that Omega's knowledge and the things we don't know about her yet are going to be important to that cloning project.
Now, do you think that she is a genetically altered clone? or do you think she is direct duplication?
I think she's the same as Boba, direct duplication, but
Direct
her
duplication.
enhancement is her enhancement known, or
I mean, I don't think that I personally don't think she's an enhanced clone. I definitely think that she is direct. I mean, to their end, if they don't have a Jango Fett, I guess she and Boba are the next best thing, right? If they want to continue to have a genetic master, so to speak, right? I mean, they're making no more. So my question is,
There's a curious question with her, though. I agree. I don't think she's genetically altered, but she's also a Bad Batch member, and the Bad Batch members are all genetically altered. Not in the way that they age, but in there's an enhancement, like intelligence or strength or whatever, right? And has she been altered in some way? There was one statement in season 1 that says that she's pure DNA, right? Django, pure. And I'm trying to just reconcile in my head, like, okay, how is she both not altered and a Bad Batch member? And there could be a purification process where they took out some impurities. I don't know what that would be, but that would make her like an amped up version of Django.
well, now
don't know.
now my question is to you guys: do you believe that the clones that we see that I'm sorry, not the clones, that the Bad Batch minus Echo, obviously, do we feel like those are those DNA, the material used was from her? Because that's what I think. I think the reason she knows so much about the Bad Batch is because she was there when they were grown. She was there.
but we know that as a fact because
So
when
that's
we entered Nalise's lab, she said that she alludes to the fact that she saw them being enhanced.
right, but does she allude to the fact that it is her DNA? Like that's my
No,
question.
it's a good theory.
Because I kind of feel like that's the connection to her to them, is that they didn't use the degrading, and forgive me if my phonetic is wrong, but they didn't use the sample that was deteriorating, that was the original Django. I think with the Bad Batch, they used her DNA to test if it could be done. Right? Like they are the first, they're almost the guinea pig subjects for using her DNA to continue the cloning process. Any thoughts?
It's possible. I don't know how much they're going to touch upon that. Sorry, Santa.
Yeah, I don't either. No, I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting thought process. And it makes it fun in the aspect that we can kind of theorize about these things. It's super exciting. It's a lot of fun among fans just to kind of have these discussions. I mean, it makes me look forward to Bad Batch season 2 as they start to kind of wrap off the layers of the onion, so we kind of get more to the heart of it. I really do think that Omega's story is going to be a through arc, much like we had with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, and now her story continuing. I think Dave's setting up a new one, and it's going to be the live action character we're going to see kind of grow up in front of us in Omega, and we'll get to see it as they develop it.
I would love to see Omega embrace, like you guys said, that Mandalorian culture that she is a very large part of, if you break down the roots of it and go back to the lore of Mandalore. But I've said this with my other buddies and with the council that we sit, I kind of feel like that white helmet in the corner is kind of earmarked for her.
Yep.
And
I agree.
I'm very curious if they're going to go along this route, if we are going to get some kind of fast forward with her. But I feel like I am excited that there is a Boba season 2. I know a lot of people are not. They kind of wanted that to lay and rest and be done. I'm excited for a second season of Boba because I need to see Boba don his armor for the first time as a young man, right? Like that for me is a large scene that is missing in the Book of Boba that I feel like is just an important, crucial part of that story. And I feel like I want to see that with Omega as well, right? I want to see both of those characters don that armor for the first time, whether it be in animation or in live action. But I feel like the Book of Boba, that was a really good opportunity with the, and I'll use X-Wing's term, even though he's gone, the back to flashbacks, or the back to, what did he call it? The flashback tank, something like that. You know, it was a great opportunity to show that scene of him as a young man coming into adulthood and putting that armor on, putting his father's armor on for the first time. Like that, I feel like that was a misstep. Would you guys agree? Would you rather see that in animation in Bad Batch coming up, or would
Well,
you rather see that in live action with a de-aged Tamora?
going back to your point on Omega, we literally don't know what her future holds. And I think the only like concrete sort of hint is Hera Syndulla. That friendship that they established. I think, we might have to wait until the Ahsoka series to see Omega in live action for the first time. And I'm more inclined to think that while her Mandalorian roots through Django make a lot of sense, they've kind of set up her character to always want to do the right thing to help the underdog. I could see her as a member of the early rebellion.
Actually, I think we could see her in, if she embraces her Mandalorian history, her culture, her heritage, and pursues that. We could see her in Mandalorian season 3 from some of the leaks that we've heard already. We know there's going to be a lot of Mandalorians outside of whom we've already seen. I think whether we know, like, specifically that's Omega when we see the character on screen, or whether they have her as part of an army of Mandalorians, and then when later we learn that one that is in this scene over there doing that thing is Omega, I think we very well could see her in Mandalorian season 3.
I don't think so,
I am
I just
so
can't see
glad.
them doing another Mando character.
Well, so now that we're getting into Mando season 3, I have a theory. I'm making a video about it. I've been saying it for months. I've been trying to find the right way to illustrate this. I feel like the Darksaber in particular is not only is it a unique weapon, the sound of that weapon is very, very unique to any other saber we've seen, even Ahsoka's purified crystals. So for me, I feel like the return to Mandalore is inevitable, right? We're going to Mandalore. We're going to see Mandalore in live action, and we're going to see what the Empire left behind and why the rumor is that the planet is basically glass, right? Now, we know Din Djarin has to go down to the living waters and to be purified, so to speak. And I feel like he's going to have a ragtag group of people that go with him. I feel like Bo-Katan will be along for the ride, going back to Mandalore. I feel like potentially Boba Fett could be tagged along to go and explore this this dangerous. And I feel it's going to be strictly Mandalorians in this scene going back to Mandalore. My question for you guys, because this is a theory I have been long clinging to. I believe that the last mythosaur is sleeping, hibernating under the living waters, or in the living waters under the mines, and that it will only awaken to the sound of the Darksaber. And this is how we are going to get our new leader of Mandalore.
I don't know if it's the Darksaber that awakens it. We do. Are you okay with spoilers for?
You spoil away, because honestly,
Okay.
the other stuff doesn't
I
bother
thought
me.
he was basing it on the recent leak.
No,
that there is going to
I'm
be a
not.
mythosaur.
I've been on this thing for, I mean, X-Wing's been trolling the shit out of me for a while with this one. And
Yeah,
so
the
yeah,
Mythosaur is supposed to be in Mandalorian season 3. We're supposed to get a live Mythosaur that wreaks havoc, but it might seem that is awoken through the ceremony and these giant gongs that they kind of ring as part of the ceremony, as Din is being purified and whatever that is. There's some sort of ceremony associated with it, and that through that ceremony it awakens the Mythosaur.
And it
interesting.
kind of chases them down that mountain.
Yeah. Right.
So well, and that's kind of, I guess, I feel like in the 1,000 years, because we haven't seen a Mythosaur since what, the Mandalore. Is that the myth, that the last time we saw a Mythosaur was during the time of the Mandalore?
I don't
Was
know
it
the
Mandalore the
Legends
Great?
continuity.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
I
about.
think you're
Mandalore.
right. That sounds
Okay.
about right.
So it is my, like I said, this is my ongoing theory that in the later years of Mandalore the Great, close to his death, this goes back to, I don't know if you guys ever watched Aragon, the movie with dragons. I really enjoyed.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
really
that
enjoy Anytime Dragon, but
sort of disappointed that didn't get continued on.
yeah, me
But
too.
yeah.
I was really looking forward to a bigger war. But for me, I kind of feel like they're going to use a very similar, um, a very similar blueprint to the Mythosaur. I feel like a hibernating Mythosaur under the mines of under the waters, but I feel like maybe Mandalore the Great put that beast to sleep and to only awaken for his true successor, right? And to only awaken at the sound of the dark saber and the harmonics that the living waters give it, right? So not just striking the saber out in the ceremonial grounds, but more underwater, to let the harmonics of that carry through the water and wake the Mythosaur.
Well, the thing for sure is we're going to find out.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've been on this train.
That comment of Santa's was a kick in the tits.
I am excited
Meg.
for it. I honestly, I have been on this hype train for a long time, and if Din Djarin or Bo-Katan or Moff Gideon or any of these guys, even Boba, puts that thing in the water and it awakens the Mythosaur, I'm going to lose my damn mind. I'm telling you right now, I might destroy some shit in this office.
I guess we'll
get
wait
that
and
excited.
see.
Yeah, I think one of the comments we got was about Ahsoka tying back to the Clone Wars. That was one of the comments this week that kind of hit the news, and folks have made videos on and discussed. And one of the theories is that perhaps Mandalore is being ruled by Thrawn. What do you both
I
think
like
of
that.
that?
I like that.
I could definitely see the 7th Fleet taking Mandalore in Thrawn's stead. I mean, most of it was destroyed, but I could see the remaining factions taking Mandalore. But I mean,
Dominic.
Thrawn, Thrawn to me, that Thrawn Ezra thing feels like if he had Mandalore this whole time, wouldn't Sabine have known all this
Yeah,
time
I was
after?
gonna say, where the hell is Ezra then?
You know, that's
If
my
they're
thing. Is like,
on Mandalore, why isn't Ezra tried to get in
unless
contact
he's
with his
got him
friends again?
unless he's got him, you know, trapped somewhere, or you know, similar maybe. And see, here's something that I could see if they went this direction with Ahsoka, is if the 7th Fleet, you know, found Thrawn, however they find Thrawn and Ezra, and they go back to Mandalore, and there is another one of the Jedi traps that they trapped Maul in, and that they have Ezra trapped in one of those somewhere on Mandalore. I could get behind that, because I know that, you know, at the time, Bo-Katan was not the most honest of person, and
Oh, she's a bitch.
she's a total. I love her. She's a total honestly, the last scene after the War of Mandalore, if I don't see Bo-Katan stab Din Djarin in the back to take the saber and rule, I'm gonna be pissed because that's the kind of
Well,
woman she is.
I'll tell you something, Obsession. According to Jason, Bo-Katan is the one who's going to end up with the Darksaber at the end of the season.
That's what I'm saying. If at the end of the war, because I know there's going to be a war for Mandalore where this is the cinematic event they've been talking about. If in the post scene or in the last scene of it, I don't watch them having a moment together and her just coming up from behind with a vibro blade and just gutting him right in the back and taking it from him, I honestly would expect nothing less.
I don't think she'll kill him. I think
I don't
it's going to
see
be
her
more of
that
a.
dark. Yeah.
I think it's more of a
She's
who's the
a
rightful ruler.
power. She wants all that power. She felt it once before the fall of Mandalore, and she wants it back. You can see it. She's like salivating when she.
But he
talks
doesn't
about
want it. He has no reason to be her nemesis. He's already
Right.
tried many times to give it back to her. He has no dog in the hunt.
It has to be taken by force, and if he leads the army to victory, she has to take it from him. Right? It's got to be taken by force. It can't be given. And I could
But
see
he would-
she's an awful Mandalorian. I mean,
I don't
Gar
see
Saxon was like her. The Gar Saxon and Previs, like all of these, they were not good. The Night Owls, they were not a good group of Mandalorian. They were not great people. They were ruthless, savage killers, and that's still in her. Just because she's playing a
But
nice
isn't
guy,
that doesn't that make them good Mandalorians?
I mean,
to
great
some extent?
Mandalorians, but not to the audience. The audience could be like, "Oh my god, she gutted him!" And I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, that's how Mandalorians take it. Yes, take that."
I just
blade."
I don't see it that way. I just don't.
And see, this
I
is
see
why I
her
love your
more
positivity, Santa.
as a heroine, right? I think she's more a practical, pragmatic, right?
Yeah, Bo Karen.
Dominic's been trolling the whole time.
He has fire.
If you stay with my live streams, Dominic keeps picking pieces from some of my live streams and putting them back in the chat, and just so he's been doing a lot of that. He's been picking on me the whole time, but yeah, I think that I think Bo is not that savage. She's more of a pragmatist, and that Din has no dog in the fight, right? So he doesn't want to combat her in any way. I do think Sabine could come into play, though. And Sabine does have a rightful claim to it. I want to bring another point about Thrawn, though, and it's another theory that I've had. And you mentioned, Obsession, that perhaps the Seventh Fleet could be there, right? The remnants of Thrawn's. We know after the Empire Strikes Back that, or Return of the Jedi. After Return of the Jedi, the Moffs each kind of try to section off their own fiefdoms, right? And I think very much that Thrawn could have had that region of space as his fiefdom before he got, well, the Seventh Fleet could have.
Right.
I want to go back to the Katana fleet from Heir to the Empire, and that we could see Ezra and Thrawn somehow involved with the Katana fleet, the missing Katana fleet, bringing it into play in some way. Not a retelling of the Heir to the Empire. And Jason Ward's been really good at saying he doesn't think that they're going to do a retelling of the Heir to the Empire, but they'll bring in pieces from here and there and pepper it in. And we've already seen that in Mount Tantus. And we might see that here as well. I keep latching on to where did the Purgle take Thrawn and Ezra? And they could have taken them back to Chiss space, but they could have taken them out in the middle of Nowhereville to the Katana fleet.
Well, in the end,
Here's the thing, Santa, and this is just to burst your balls a bit. It's a Disney Plus show. It's the simplest answer, the most straightforward one. That doesn't involve all these books. And having seen this cartoon or that cartoon is probably the right one. I just think they went into Nowhereville.
Occam's razor tends to be a very Disney way of thinking. You know, the easiest answer tends to be the one that they go with. I would like to see. I mean, look, for me, if you give me a Dark Ezra, I'm cool with it, right? If Thrawn gets in his head and corrupts him, I just feel like after his sacrifice, that's the moment where that's like the moment of no return. Like he put his path towards the light at that moment, willing to sacrifice his life, right? So I feel like after Jedi reach a certain point for me of like their sacrifice, right? It's almost like a Constantine when the devil Lucifer is talking about, the sacrifice being the greatest thing you can do to preserve your soul, to make your soul clean. And I feel like that's what Ezra did. So for me, I don't think I don't want to see him go dark side in this version. I want to see him continuing to fight for what he thinks is right, and watching him being locked up in one of those Mandalorian caskets, so to speak, like Maul was, only able to see what's happening and feel the Force, but not use it. I feel like that would be a really interesting turn for them to make it so Ezra doesn't turn. Because for me, that's after a certain point, I feel like if you're willing to give your life for the light, there's really no going back.
I have a question though, because Thrawn in no way would try to turn Ezra, because Thrawn had no interest in the dark side. Thrawn is a collector, an artist, a tactician. If anything, he would use Ezra as what they call Skywalkers, which is to guide them through space using the Force. I don't think there's a possibility of Ezra going dark. There is a possibility of Thrawn getting inside his head and maybe his personality's changed a little bit. But I don't see Ezra going through a dramatic personality or character shift towards the dark.
Right. And
Yeah, I
that's
agree with you completely, Megan. I think we saw that a little bit in season 4 of Rebels when when Ezra is kind of tacking on to Saul Guerrera, right? Hey, he can. Oh, this Saul Guerrera guy's got it figured out. I like what he's saying, what he's doing, until the incident with the Kyber crystal, and he's willing to just kill anybody, whatever. He didn't care, innocent, not innocent, and he was like, "Oh, no, dude, that ain't good." So I think we saw Ezra begin to kind of like see the moral ambiguity went away, right? And he's like, "No, there is a good and there is a bad," and
well,
so
and
I don't think we would see him turn after that. I agree with Meg, and I also agree that Thrawn is not just a ruthless killer. He's
right. Well,
not.
and Ezra, I mean, Ezra had his so to speak trials with the dark side with Maul, right? Maul really had him spun up, had
Yeah.
him using the holocron, the Sith holocron to gain power and knowledge. So I feel like he already had his trial, and that he's pretty much, I mean, I think Ezra is special in a whole different way. I personally believe Ezra is the Force's way of really reconnecting the light. Luke and Leia obviously were born from, Anakin, but Ezra was born on Empire Day. Ezra was born the day that all this that the Sith snubbed out the Jedi, and many Jedi died that day, and Ezra was born on that day. So I feel like the Force gave him more than it would have a normal child being born with the Force, because it was trying to balance itself out. And then Luke and Leia are born a day, I think the day after uh Order 66. So again, the Force is out of balance. They're given not only with their Skywalker lineage, but the Force being out of balance, given even more uh metachlorines or Force, whatever you want to call it, given more of the Force. I feel like Ezra is the Force's way of trying to correct the balance. I mean, he is, and this leads me into my next question for you guys and Meg, because you are like an Encyclopedia Britannica of information when it comes to Star Wars. Do you think we're going to see the world between worlds again?
I know Santa and I have definitely gone back and forth on this, and I'm more in line with Santa's more recent opinions on it, or the opinions he's always had, and I've kind of caught up with them. Just one quick thing, going back to what you were saying about Ezra, wait until you find out about Din Djarin.
Well, and
Because I know a thing or two about his parents.
well, and see, I have another theory that I've been working on a video on for a while about Din, and there's always been argument. Again, I'm a huge nerd, so I watch Den of Nerds. I catch a lot of your guys' stuff, and for me, the ongoing argument even there on the Den of Nerds is Din Djarin Force sensitive, right? This is everybody's question, so to speak. I would like your interpretation first before I go into my small rabbit hole that I've kind of started digging.
He's 100% Force sensitive. He just doesn't know it yet.
No, he's not
See,
force sensitive.
I feel the opposite, and only because he was born during the time of the Republic and of the Council. Would they not have sensed him in those days? They were still collecting babies. They were still collecting younglings. We saw Ahsoka go on this mission to rescue some younglings, and we know that they were still going out of the universe. So, don't you think that the Jedi Council or the Jedi Order would have sensed a Force sensitive Din Djarin?
Yes, but they didn't mess with him because his parents were not guardians of the wills, but the other one, the disciples of the wills. And so he was exempt from being trained in the ways of the Jedi because they were worshippers of the Force.
So Din Djarin's parents that were separatists were basically guardians of the wills or disciples.
Why do you say they
of
were
the wills?
separatists?
Well, during they lived in separatist space, didn't they? Because during the
Do
time,
we know which planet they were on? I don't think it's ever been said.
well, when we see his parents put him in that bomb shelter, in that cellar, wherever they drop him,
Mhm.
that planet is at that point being attacked by droids. Yes.
Exactly.
So, I guess and this is at this point, where in the war do we feel like this is at? Is this because it feels like if the Mandalorians are getting involved, this is kind of at the end of the war.
Very likely. Very likely. All I know is that they based Bernard Bullen's character, Din Djarin's father, on a pre-existing character because they needed him to look identical. And if you know Star Wars Rebels, then you know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a very strong connection there. I don't know if they thought too deeply about the super battle droids being on that planet. I don't think they thought deeply into that element of it, but they were conveying the fact that these parents were disciples of the wills. And I think that's going to play into the next season a little
Well,
bit.
and they were wearing some very interesting clothing too, right? It just didn't look like normal, I don't know, everyday garb. It almost looked ceremonial, right? They were matching.
Yeah, that's
they were
what
all in red.
Josh is kind of locked onto, right? Josh Lucas, he's kind of locked onto that. Their clothing is kind of where he keeps saying that Din is going to be force sensitive. I just don't see it. I don't think his parents were force sensitive. I don't think he is either. Not that you get it through genetics necessarily, but I just don't think that he is. I think he's got a strong moral compass, and that sometimes people confuse that for other things. But we'll see. We'll see.
Wouldn't he tingle? I mean, using another phrase, but wouldn't he get the spider tingle? Wouldn't he have the Peter tingle when feeling other Jedi and this weird? We always said, like, obviously Vader and Luke always sensed each other, and Leia and Luke obviously had that kind of connection. But I mean, you really go down to it, Ezra, when he first encounters Kanan, he gets the Peter tingle. He doesn't realize what it is because he has no knowledge of the Force. He's just a street rat, but he feels something. Something is different. Something is. I feel something that I've never felt before, and I've never seen Din. I've seen him have amazing reflexes. I've seen him have amazing bravery. I've seen him have great decision making in battle, but I've never seen him have
Because he
that.
was raised in a cult, he can't express himself, even in the simplest of ways. If you want a good example of him not having the social skills, if you watch the episode with Omira in season 1, he's very awkward. You know, he's been programmed to be robotic, follow the way of Mandalore. Everything else is secondary. So it's not surprising that if he felt something. I mean, look how long it took him to open up about seeing Grogu as his own son. That relationship did not happen in the first few episodes of him on his quest.
Well, for sure, reluctant. I mean, he's nothing but reluctant to take his place as whether it be a father figure for a foundling or whether it be the crowned leader right now of Mandalore. I mean, basically, it's Paz, right? I always mess up the meathead
Paz
Mandalorian.
is the big bulky guy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So he beat Paz's ass. I mean, literally gave him his ass. Wielding a weapon that was like a Thor's hammer, essentially, and you know it's he obviously is the rightful owner of that weapon, right? It is solidified at this point. I just feel
Well,
like if he
to
was
some degree, it is. I mean, at least in that context of those present, he is the most worthy.
right.
I still have a question in my head about Sabine.
Well, and even the Mandalorians at the time, I mean, even her mother said, you know, oh, you won it from Maul. Well, no, I found it in his quarters. Well, then that doesn't make you worthy. Take it. Now, the fact that she beat another Mandalorian in battle to keep it definitely says that the weapon is currently hers by definition. But
Yeah,
I
that's why I'm
don't.
like, among the three, Din is definitely, or four even. Like, if you want to say Paz, the armor, and Moff Gideon, right? Din is the rightful owner of it. But I don't know what happens if you go back to Sabine.
I don't want to say this too loud, but I mean, could Moff Gideon be in that mix? I mean, he was wielding that little guy pretty well. I mean, it wasn't that heavy, you know. I mean, he could be in that mix too. Still, I mean, it didn't seem that heavy to him when he was fighting Din Djarin.
I think Gideon is unfortunately going to be quite disposable in the end. I think he's an incredible villain, but I don't see him having the importance of being tied to the Darksaber story again. I think the fact that he won it off Bo-Katan, or we assume that's how he got it, is pretty much the only backstory we need to know.
So you
I can't
guys
see
are
him
in
in the
the
mix going forward.
you
I think his
guys are in the
priority is
room
to create Palpatine, or Snoke rather.
right to continue that those final orders. Do you feel like we're going to get a Bo-Katan show?
It's definitely possible, and if we don't get a Bo-Katan show, I can see her being really central in another spin-off.
I think we'll see her tied. I think we might get the end of her in Mandalorian season 3, or whatever else goes on as far as Meg just said, like a spinoff. The Mandalorian right now we have associated to Din Djarin, like a strong connection there. As the story goes forward, there's nothing to say that we couldn't keep exploring more Mandalorians, or following Mandalore, like during the sequel trilogy era, because something's going on there while the sequel trilogy is going on. Maybe we've got a storyline out there where Bo's involved, Din's involved, Sabine's involved. Right? We never see them in the sequels, but they should be like tangentially, like, at least Mandalorians should be like tangentially involved in some way. And we know that the First Order at some point gains control of most of the universe. What's going on in Mandalore? So that whole story arc could be explored, much like we could explore Chiss space, right? We could go back and explore Chiss space in a completely different spinoff, which I would love. By the way, I would love a Chiss spinoff series, and maybe see what's going on out there. And you could explore all kinds of things by doing that. But
Well, and do you guys
yeah,
feel like I've long suspected that the reason we've been brought Bo-Katan and the reason that Boba was brought into the Mandalorian series specifically, not only to introduce him, but to really unite the clans, right? I feel like this is a very, forgive me for using so many movie references, but this is a Braveheart style moment with these three leaders, so to speak. So you have Bo-Katan, that is basically the leader of the remaining Mandalorians that fought to keep their planet from Moff Gideon, and whether it's the First Order or the remnants of the Empire, whichever way you want to slice that. And then we have Din Djarin, who is technically a descendant of, what I mean, let's go to Boba. Boba is the descendant technically of Mandalore. I mean, if you go back to Django and go back to his story, and that is that faction of Mandalorians. And then you have Din Djarin, that is basically a child of the Watch and a religious zealot, to the point where they don't take off their helmets and they live by basically the Maul Mandalorian code at the end of Maul's reign. So I feel like these three factions coming together is almost a uniting of the clans, right? All factions of Mandalore are represented, and it is time to bury the hatchet. It is time to fight for Mandalore and not fight each other. And I kind of feel like that's why we got Boba and Bo in Mandalorian, because they are going to crown a king by the end of this thing. Thoughts?
and I could see Din being the unwilling, right? That makes him more palatable to the different factions
The
because he's
Aragon,
not
if you will,
seeking it. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel. I mean, Din is definitely the Aragon, if you're a Lord of the Rings guy.
Yeah,
Um,
Meg doesn't know this Lord of the Rings thing,
but
even
basically,
though
he's
I
the
give her a hard
reluctant
time.
leader. He's the one that doesn't want the seat, but he is the natural born leader. Um, but again, I just feel like by the end of this, we're going to have a ruler of Mandalore. And I feel like these three are the high contenders, because these are technically the three left of the factions, their original
Yep.
factions.
Yep. I agree. I agree completely. And I think that there's another theory out there that, say 20, 30 years down the road, that Grogu may step in to that role as the heir
Oh
to
God,
the
no.
Mandalorian because he's decided to go back.
Do you know what I
And
think should happen to Grogu?
go ahead.
This is going to be extremely unpopular. I think, because we don't know what happened to Yaddle in canon, he should find Yaddle, or somehow she finds him. They go back to the Yoda species homeworld, and that's the end of it. And the reason I'm saying that is Grogu's had a really traumatic life. Order 66, being indoctrinated in the ways of the Jedi. If you're a dark side user, like myself. And then having been forced to go with a bucket head to try and find another Jedi. I just feel like he deserves a bit of sleep, a bit of rest.
Well, I mean, is the I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Yaddle going home is very Cocoon, if you will. I'm using a lot of old school references today. Is very Cocoon, if you will. And if
Great
Yaddle
movie.
grabs Grogu and rides off into the sunset, then so be it. I'm totally down for that. I would love for her to find him at the end of her life and give him her saber.
I
Pass
would
on
cry so hard.
pass on the story of his creation,
Much
right?
like
Like,
a Luke and Yoda, right?
yeah,
Grogu and Yaddle.
I would love to
That'd be cool.
see a young Grogu, a almost speaking Grogu, if you will, and tell Din, look, I got to go figure out what happened to the other of my species. There's only ever been two. Luke told me about Yoda. I heard of another. I have to find her. Right. And then he finds Yaddle, maybe in a similar situation to Yoda, isolating herself from the world, removing herself from the Force to protect herself and the knowledge she carries. I would love to find her somewhere cool, like maybe Jocasta New's secret library. And that was her position to guard that after Jocasta's died. And there's a lot of layers to where we could go with that, but I dig that.
They need
Yaddle,
to do something with Yaddle.
it's such a good opportunity to show Grogu's story and give him a saber and bring him back into the Jedi, into the light to fight the fight, even if he doesn't survive the whole time. Or even make him, maybe she, like you were saying, maybe she took off to go lead the followers of the Wills. I mean, Yoda had a very deep experience with the Wills that changed his perspective and showed him how wrong he had been over the years of the Clone Wars. Maybe she, because they're so in tune to the Force, had a similar experience that made her exile herself for the future, right? Basically be a time capsule for the next generation of her species. For me, that's a more poetic story than, than her just finding him out of nowhere. Because then it's like, where the hell you been? We went through a whole war. Where you been?
The thing is, I think you can easily explain Yaddle being missing by saying that she had Grogu in that time, and then she didn't want Grogu to have attachments while he was training, so she left the Jedi Order, knowing that he'd be in the safe hands of the other Jedi Masters.
Do you
And I
think?
don't think Yoda is related to him.
That's
I
what I
think
was
he
going
knew
to say. Do
him,
you think
but I
that?
think he's Yaddle's baby.
Do you think that Grogu could be an Anakin style Virgins?
Absolutely, I think there's a reason they were born in the same year. I think
So
maybe I like the theory that the Yoda species are so rare because they're a product of the Force's will, rather than being spawned from, making love.
now,
Yeah.
do you feel like this is that the Virgences, let's call them Anakin and Grogu, are a direct response by the Force to Plagueis's dark deeds?
I think Anakin is.
Oh, and Grogu could be the
Safety net?
balance, so to speak, right? Like the opposite. So the Wills implanted or whatever.
So the
to
Wills
Yaddle.
knew Anakin
Or
would be
generated.
Vader eventually, and basically Virgins to the dark and the light.
Well, we know Palpatine was already Darth Sidious at the time, right? And so it's either Darth Plagueis or Darth Sidious that was involved in the creation of Anakin. Could have been.
Well, it was
both of
it was
them. Who
Plagueis.
knows?
Plagueis toying with the Force in the way that he was caused Anakin's Virgins, caused the Force to correct itself, so to speak.
Meg is logged in twice now. she's chatting on both of her accounts at the same
Love it.
time.
I love it.
Wait,
How are we gonna do
Dominic
this?
is trolling me. He said one
You're
has to die, Yaddle or Ayla Secura. Ayla Secura already died.
I love
But
it.
then,
I love that you can focus in 3 different conversations at one time. I love how your mind works.
Only a Sith can multitask.
Apparently,
I'm wondering how a Sith became a Force ghost.
which one?
Oh, technicalities.
Oh, okay. No, the Force ghost Meg. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm picking
You know what
on-
I'm wondering, Santa? Because you know what's really interesting? You bring up such a good question. I have one better for you. How can someone who loves the original trilogy
Oh no.
say
Oh,
that
boy.
the sequels? I mean, I'm just saying. It's completely fine to have different opinions. For example, I like the original trilogy and the prequels, and you love terrible Star Wars movies.
Shots fired across the bow.
That's her favorite line.
Well, I mean, look,
I
I
think
I got to say that, it is amazing that you two are so close considering your opposition. It's like me and X-Wing. We disagree on some of the fundamentals of this or that series, trilogy, but At the end of the day, we're all friends, and that's the best part of this community.
I agree with you, and I absolutely love and adore Meg with all my heart. I absolutely love it, and so we have a lot of fun as friends,
We do.
trolling one another. But the same with Sheev and X Wing, yourself. Like, there's a bunch of us now who have gotten in touch with one another. We found one another through this Star Wars medium. And Jason Ward is another just tremendous person. Really happy to have met all of you through this, and it's really a testament to what the fandom can be. And if we could find more of that, it would be really good. And I have hope. I have hope, and a lot of my hope is in our friend Meg here, because she's a bright star for this community, and in a place where she is attracting more and more attention, and drawing more people to her. Right. So I think that she can absolutely bring more of us together through her channel and through her content. Meg is absolutely a keystone to building this arch, right? So if you're familiar with how keystones fit into an arch, Meg is the keystone to the arch that ties both of these sides of the fandom together.
Well,
I
and
can't.
that's why I enjoyed, talking, and that's why I created this little section of space, right? I didn't have a space to talk about any of this, because my friends gloss their eyes over when we start talking about this stuff, because I just dive in. And the whole reason I created this channel was to be able to have a safe space for me to get this stuff out of me, so I don't
Yeah.
drive the people in my life completely bonkers. But at the same time, it has been an amazing learning experience, because I have made friends, I have made enemies, I have applauded some of the people that came before me. I uh, get a lot of grief because I'm not into click hate, I'm not into clickbait, I'm not into any of that. I'm into giving it to you straight. If you like it, stick around. If you don't, the door's over there, and there's no harm, no foul. Um, and I'm trying to be around people that are more positive, that want to continue to bring positivity to the space, even if there's a little negativity in your content and you're not happy with something, to still be able to discuss it without disliking the other side for their point of view.
I think
So,
that's an important point right there. Is we need to be able to be honest, right?
yeah,
As much as you and I like to embrace the shill
absolutely.
moniker, and how much we've earned it.
Yeah.
At the same time, we can be honest and say the things that we don't like, and we can complain about those things from a place of honesty, not a place out of clickbait, out of fake rage, anything like that, right? And that's what's so beautiful about Meg as well, because look, she's made no qualms about calling out the parts she doesn't like, right?
Well, but that's the important look. If you can't call out the bad, then you can't call out the good. Without dark, there is no light, right? And so it's all part of the same circle. And for me, it's I've heard it all. Like I said, I am not about any of the hate. If you have an opinion on Star Wars, share it. If you have to get it out of you, share it. Come here, share it. Um, if you have a negative perspective on something, let's talk about it. Let's find out why your point of view is that way, and just understand it, not change it. I don't want to change
Yeah.
anybody's point of
Yeah.
view.
And
Um,
there are so many of us who want to share what we love about Star Wars, and it's so important to cultivate those communities, those people who want a space to talk about what they love without being completely bashed for it. And as you were saying, there's tons of hate bait out there, people who like to stir up the drama, and unfortunately, at times it can feel like that's a majority of the online Star Wars space, when in reality it's not. It's just there are so many fans out there who need spaces and communities to express their love of Star Wars, even if we have different opinions on it. You know, Santa was saying we're very close friends, and we have very contrasting perspectives on Star Wars, but we can have debates and conversations and respect one another as human beings
Right.
without, you know, as you were saying, there's no problem with saying you hate one thing or you love another thing. But it's when it gets personal, it's when it gets exaggerative, it's when it gets into like the lying territory, when you start to pretend like Star Wars is on fire and Kathleen Kennedy is to blame. And
Well,
Right.
and yeah, I mean that's
Right.
you know, for me it's I don't care if I get 4 clicks out of what I'm putting out there. For me it's not about how many clicks I get. It's not about any of this. For me it's about having a space to talk about the things I like talking about, to collect the things I like talking about, and to be around people with a similar mindset. And it's not to insult, it's not to berate, it's not to hurt anybody's feelings if we have a different perspective. And that's what's missing in the world now. And that's the space I'm trying to create. I have no problem talking about the opposite side of the coin, especially with friends like X-Wing and others that have a different perspective than I do. Right? I enjoy the spirit of debate. It's when you go too far and you take it personal and think I don't like you because of your point of view. That is not the case. It's just a simple perspective and what you've been through and what I've been through and all of that fun stuff. So I applaud the both of you because you can have debates and at the end of the day still be friends and have a great time conversating. These are important things in society that is lost. And I'm trying to just rekindle a little of that, but not try to bait you into anything that you're expecting something different. I'm not a fan of negativity just for the sake of negativity. If you want to be negative about something, you got a good reason, do it. But if you don't and you're just doing it for the clicks, that's where my problem lies. So that's one thing I can appreciate about the both of you and the community I surround myself with is that you guys have pull no punches with one another. I love it. I love the spirit of debate, and you two are the poster children for that because I've seen you two go, I don't agree with that. That's no, just no. And then you banter for a little bit, then you get on a conversation that you both agree on, and we're back to this, and then it's back to the other thing. It's an ebb and flow that you
Thank
guys
you for
do.
that.
And that's why I wanted you both here at the same time, because I knew we would get just a little bit of that, just a taste of that. And that's what I appreciate about you guys is that you do it probably better than anybody.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
It's been a
Yeah,
lovely three-way.
Oh,
my last,
I appreciate it. It's one thing that, and I know right now Jason Presson over on Polyhedral Paradise Live is doing a live stream charity for mental health awareness, and it's something that my own personal struggle with my mental health is one of self worthlessness. It's a thing that I have. I have a voice inside my head that is telling me all day long, every single day, that what I do is not good. All right, in any event, and it doesn't matter if it's my job or it's doing the Star Wars stuff, and all of that. Right, and so hearing those kind of things from folks like you, Meg is we've shared. We're very close friends, and she reaches out to me, and she helps me a lot by just reassuring me and letting me know that those voices are liars, right? And it's being aware of that and knowing that we can help one another. It's really great.
well, and you know, a lot of people, this is something I live by, and it probably took me getting a little older in life to realize, but everybody is fighting a fight none of us know about. And this is the
Yeah.
biggest thing I live by is maybe somebody's having a bad day and but you don't know the fight that they're fighting inside. You don't know the stuff that's going on at home. We don't really know unless you're living in the daily shoes of another person. So everybody's fighting a fight, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's whatever the fight is. We're all fighting a fight, and we should be a little bit more compassionate to the
Yeah.
mental health of one another, because nobody is perfect. Nobody lives without a doubting voice in their head, or without a voice in their head, whatever that voice is telling them. There's always your conscience, and everybody has something they're dealing with. So I'm going to close this out and give everybody an opportunity to get over there, because I feel like that is an important stream also. But the last thing I want to say is that both of you inspire me. Santa, you inspire me to be more happy. I'm already pretty happy with my Star Wars stuff, but I watch your stream and you inspire me to try to be more positive than I already am in this space. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
Don't
you.
let the little voice in your head beat you, right? Because that little guy is always going to be your biggest challenge. We are our own biggest critics in life. And
Yeah.
so it's good and bad that you have that voice in your head. Just continue to be strong enough to listen and feed the right wolf, right?
Right.
Feed the positive
Yeah.
side of it. And Meg,
Yeah.
your content just inspires me every chance. I mean, whether it's a tweet, whether it's a video, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Do not stop, because there are so many of us in this space. I mean, I was talking about it with the boys in the backstage of one of our streams, and I'm like, I'm trying to get Meg on stream. I'm trying to get Meg on stream. I'm making a video just because Meg commented to this tweet, and I gotta make a video on it now, because I gotta have this conversation with her after I make the video. So honestly, I'm honored that you're even here, that you're
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
that you're slumming down here in the gutters of YouTube with the likes of me. And I feel blessed. I am super honored that you took the time to be here. I know your life is just as busy as everybody else's, and time is valuable. So I cannot thank you enough for blessing me with the time to pick your brain, to get your perspective, and to just have your voice here in this space. Just made my whole weekend. You have no idea. When you tweeted, said you were coming, I literally put my stuff down and I'm like, I got to go upstairs for a little bit. I got to go handle some shit. My girlfriend was excited for me. I was like, literally, I fanboyed out for like 10 minutes downstairs. And I was like, okay, I got to go to the studio. I got to go now before I lose my mind. Right. So for me, this is epic. This is something that I've like literally didn't think would happen for months and months on end. I am truly blessed. And I thank you to the stars and back for
Oh, bless you. Well, thank you so much for having me. I love talking to this community. I've been aware of your channel for a very long time, and
oh, that's it.
I've seen your positivity streams, and it's always great to talk to Star Wars fans too.
Sorry.
Star Wars fans who love to have discourse, and it's not just the same old thing of bashing this or hating on that. So
No, I'm telling you both, there is an open invitation. Anytime there is something going on here and you have a thought or voice or 5 minutes to drop by, you're first in line. So please, anytime there's something you see me post or anything and you want to get a voice out, this is an open door. I cannot tell you how blessed and honored I am to have you both on a Saturday, on a weekend. Everybody in the chat was like, Santa on a weekend, holy balls, what's going on right now?
Right.
So
Well, you got me out of going to a baby shower. So
hey,
thank you
all
for
right,
that.
I'll take it. But no, I'm truly am blessed. Thank you guys so much. I've literally taken up 2 hours of your guys' weekend, and I could sit here with you guys all day, but I really do want to go and contribute to that mental health stream. And that is one of the biggest reasons I'm trying to even get to a point where we can start doing more stuff like that, because everybody has a cause that's near and dear to their heart. And we should all be using our voices and our platforms to raise awareness and consciousness for the things that we hold dear. So aside from Star Wars, is there anything else you guys want to say on your way out? I can't think of anything else. I'll literally keep babbling for another hour if you let me. So please, anything else before we go?
just want to
Oh,
say
no,
hi to
thank you.
Maria in the chat. It's great to see you here.
Yeah, and thanks, Obsession. I don't get to do this very often on Saturdays, and that this could work out today is fantastic for me. And I've shared how much this community means to me. That I appreciate the platform. I appreciate what you're doing here, and always happy to hang out with another shill. So thank you
No,
for
man,
being
like I
that for
said,
me.
you guys are always welcome. Whether it's something positive, negative, it doesn't matter what you want to say. You're always welcome here. I thank you guys so much. The chat is just like exploding because we all love your content, and I'm literally still shitting myself that you're even here. So, yeah. So anybody else, thank you guys so much. I'm sure we all have stuff coming out. I've got some stuff coming out. Keep your eyes out. Thank you all for being here. Again, I'm a big animal lover, so take care of your pets, love your family, and make sure you say everything you have to say today, because tomorrow's not a guarantee and you don't want to miss out on saying something you need to. So with that, thank you all. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll catch you in the